This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Friday, the real Friday, March 3rd, and today's pod is just absolutely the best one yet. Best pod we've ever done.
You know what day it is.
Oh, I know what day it is, Jack. What day is it, man?
It's actually Alex's birthday. Happy birthday, Alex, my wife.
Oh, that is true.
It's also Quiz Friday.
Quiz Friday. What's going on Quiz Friday, Jack?
Every Friday, we drop our 1-minute weekly Pop Biz Pop Quiz.
Yeah, you can tweet how you did. Whoever's got a streak going, we want to see this. Tag us at T-Boy Pod.
How well have you been listening to the pods of this pod?
Check out the quiz at go.tboypod.com. Jack, what's our first story?
PepsiCo's greatest export isn't liters of cola, it's liters of companies.
Get this, Pepsi is pumping out chief executives like they're potato chips.
For our second story, Salesforce stock jumped by 12% yesterday despite one continued bizarre employee contract.
Okay, Salesforce pays Matthew McConaughey $10 million a year.
And our third and final story is Shef. Shef raised $100 million so that neighbors can order dinner from their neighbors.
It's the Airbnb of kitchens. It is the Uber of meals. It is the Etsy of nommms.
But Yetis, before we jump into that fantastic mix,
Really great mix today, Jack.
we have a surprise that we're whipping up for you.
Yeah, we're whipping up a special treat next week whenever Jack's baby decides to come.
Whenever our second kid comes, we're going to drop a bonus pod during my paternity leave.
We're going to drop our monthly bonus interview pod.
Because last week, we interviewed a very unique founder while Nick and I were in New York.
We did. This guy didn't create one company. He built two companies.
And both are now unicorns worth over $1 billion.
In fact, he transformed a school project into an entirely new business model.
And then he did it again.
Yeah.
You may even be wearing both of his products from both of his companies right now.
At the same time combined.
We're talking, of course, about Jeff Rader.
He co-founded Warby Parker and he co-founded Harry's.
Jeff Rader is a branding behemoth.
This guy is a goddess of grooming.
And at the end of the interview, true story, I shaved Nick's face right in front of him.
At the end of the interview, Jack whipped out a razor and he just went to town on my sideburns.
Actually, you whipped out the shaving cream first. Then I whipped out the razor.
It's true. I was kind of prepared in case we decided to pull this.
So Yetis, before we hit our three stories, here's a sneak peek of next week's bonus pod.
You want to hear a good story about that?
Yeah.
So we're both from Boston, my co-founder Andy and I.
Yeah.
And one day we met Bob Kraft at
Really?
at a function. Andy goes up to Bob Kraft. He's like, we're from Boston and we run Harry's. And someday we're going to rename your stadium Harry's House.
Nice. Wow.
And Bob Kraft just looks at him and goes, that'll cost you.
Yetis, stay tuned for more next week. In the meantime, Jack, let's hit our three stories.
15 years before this song, two boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Pepsi has hit a corporate milestone, but it's got nothing to do with pop and it's got nothing to do with profits.
Here's the milestone. Pepsi is pumping out more CEOs than any other company.
Oh, Jack, let's whip out the whiteboard. Target, McDonald's, Visa, Delta, Hershey.
Petco, Dick's Sporting Goods, Ulta Beauty, KFC, Foot Locker.
We could go on. Jack, what do all those companies have in common, my friend?
They all have CEOs who previously worked at Pepsi.
Get this, Yetis. Today, 16 of the Fortune 500 CEOs are all Pepsi alums.
The only company with more alums as CEOs is the Olive Garden.
The breadsticks are unlimited and the executives are too.
No, just kidding, Yetis. But in 1 month, the new Starbucks CEO, he's going to be a former PepsiCo guy too.
Add that to the list. Well, Pepsi, they're making $80 billion a year in revenue selling soda and selling snacks.
But as Fortune magazine points out, Pepsi is really a factory pumping out CEOs.
Jack, remember how everyone in Silicon Valley talks about the PayPal mafia?
Yeah,
Well, Pepsi has created the Mountain Dew mafia.
I'll take it. Another way to think of PepsiCo is to think of it as an academy company.
Right, academy company. That's the term that Yale's business school professor, Professor Sonnenfeld, came up with, academy company.
Other academy companies include General Electric, JP Morgan Chase, Amazon, and the consulting firm McKinsey.
Basically, their companies give you like an alternative to an MBA. They train you.
Just working at these companies is leadership training.
But Yetis, we know what you're thinking when you hear these numbers. How did Pepsi build a factory of CEOs? What is the Pepsi secret sauce?
They did it by secretly identifying top performers across the company and labeling them as hippos.
They labeled them as hippos, and it was all a secret.
Hippos, short for high performers. Pepsi identifies the 20% top performing people across every division at the company.
This all began back in the 1980s. What happened then, Jack?
They hired a psychologist named Bob Eichinger to identify the best using psychometric tests and performance reviews.
Basically, they came out with tests to figure out how you interact with other people, and then they evaluated you.
And the key is that Pepsi knows hippos exist in every division of the company.
Yeah, top 20% of the finance team are hippos. They're the best performers.
But also top 20% of the truck drivers. Those are hippos too.
Now, that's the whole hippo philosophy, but here's kind of the wildest part about it.
You don't know if you're a hippo. If you're a hippo, you don't know you're a hippo.
Because Pepsi never tells you you're a hippo.
The list of hippos is an HR secret. Your boss is going to know you're a hippo, but you're not going to know you're a hippo.
If you know, you know.
It's kind of like Harry Potter.
It is.
Dumbledore and McGonagall know that this is the chosen one. But Harry was like stuck under the stairs in a little crawl space.
The Weasley brothers, they don't know what's going on with Harry in this situation, do they? They're living in the dark, aren't they, Jack?
Actually, this doesn't work because the Weasleys did know Harry was the chosen
fine, like
one.
the Weasley sister. Weasley sister, she didn't know.
There is no Weasleys. Well, no.
Fine, Thomas Thumblebutton, he didn't know that Harry was a secret.
A hippo.
He didn't know Harry was a hippo. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Pepsi?
If you're too afraid of getting your heart broken, you'll never find a hippo.
Okay, Yetis, fascinating quote Jack and I found from Pepsi's HR chief. Here's what he said. We take care of everyone at Pepsi, but
we take extra care of the top 20%. They get extra love, extra attention, and extra training.
That's a whole lot of extras. Yetis, these hippos at Pepsi, they aren't just identified, they're treated. They get lavish training programs.
Hippos go to foreign offsites. They go to company retreats, and they go through leadership challenges.
Hippos get extra room to make mistakes. Like if they fail on a project, they're given a pass just for trying.
So after spending all this money, all this hotel bookings and airfare travel on these hippos, does Pepsi get upset that so many of them have left and led other companies that could even compete with Pepsi?
Okay, this is the interesting thing. Not at all. In fact, Pepsi thinks it was all worth the cost.
Pepsi is a $240 billion food giant, and they're still growing a healthy 10% per year.
It could be worried about investing in people because those people leave.
But they're not. Pepsi believes they gain more from all of those who stay.
Because, Yetis, if you're too afraid of getting your heart broken, you'll never find a hippo.
It looked like you wanted to say hug there.
I did want to say hug. I did want to say hug. You'll never hug a hippo. For our second story, Salesforce's stock just had its best day in years thanks to one single word.
But Matthew McConaughey is not a fan of that one word.
He is not.
Salesforce.
Salesforce is like oxygen. We call it stoxygen. It's all around us.
Salesforce is all around us, and every company uses it, even if you don't see it. It's like oxygen.
Yeah, it's CRM. It's a customer relationship management software.
And the stock jumped 12% on Thursday for its best single day on the stock market in 3 years.
There was one reason for that jump, and that one reason was one word. And what is that word, Jack?
Efficiency.
It's efficiency. Yes. 1 month ago, Mark Zuckerberg declared that 2023 was the year of efficiency at Facebook.
Zuck said on that earnings call, efficient, efficiently, or efficiency 41 times.
Okay, so naturally, Jack and I have been really curious, and we've been looking for the word efficiency in like every tech earnings report.
On Salesforce's earnings call on Wednesday, CEO Mark Benioff zucked Zuck by saying efficiency 8 times.
And when they say efficiency in tech, what they're talking about is cutting down on costs.
Yeah, so he shut down the M&A team because they're not going to be acquiring any companies anytime soon.
True.
And they let go of 8,000 workers in the past year, which is 10% of everyone there.
Salesforce and the rest of big tech are putting profits over perks.
Now, you know what this means. The efficiency pivot? It means that Matthew McConaughey is on the hot seat.
We repeat, Matthew McConaughey is not happy about this whole efficiency situation.
Because Matthew McConaughey, the actor slash guru slash dynamo,
That guy.
he's on the Salesforce payroll.
That's right. The wedding planner. How to lose a guy in 10 days. Failure to launch.
This huge software company asked Matthew McConaughey, can we pay you to be around? And he said, all right. Yetis, Salesforce pays McConaughey $10 million a year.
$10 million is coming out of Salesforce and into Matthew McConaughey's pocket. That's a real thing.
This is kind of embarrassing, super awkward. We don't know what he does there. In fact, if there's any Yeti Salesforcers, we'd love you to tell us what he's doing at your company.
Matthew McConaughey is getting paid so much by Salesforce that the compensation committee at Salesforce had to approve the $10 million number.
He reportedly shows up every year to the big Dreamforce event in San Francisco and just like looks hot.
Matthew McConaughey is getting paid $1.5 million per ab every year.
And last year, he appeared in a Salesforce Super Bowl commercial, which cost another $5 million.
So when we look at Salesforce's new efficiency focus, what are we thinking, Jack?
It sounds great for shareholders. They like it. But it might be bad for McConaughey.
And if it's bad for McConaughey, it's probably not good for Kate Hudson either, because she seems to be in every single one of those movies.
Although we should point out that McConaughey is reportedly still there, still getting paid.
He is.
He hasn't had his job cut, even though 8,000 Salesforce workers have.
Jack, I just walked by the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. I saw McConaughey driving around in a Lincoln sedan.
Saying something philosophical to himself.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Salesforce?
The year of efficiency reveals the decade of decadence.
Yetis, the strangest line from the Salesforce earnings was uttered by CEO Mark Benioff, and he said it without embarrassment.
He's the co-founder and CEO since 1999, and he said, we have never, in all of our years, had an efficiency focus before.
Salesforce just admitted it has never had an efficiency focus before.
Which means it's had an inefficient focus, right?
Yeah, so Yetis, the way Jack and I see it, this year of efficiency tells us about tech's future, but it also reveals a lot more about tech's past.
It reveals how widespread lack of efficiency has been in Silicon Valley over the years.
Since software companies grew so fast over the last couple decades, Salesforce could build a 75-acre wellness retreat ranch just for employees.
Salesforce could drop $28 billion during the pandemic to acquire Slack.
Salesforce could build the tallest building west of the Mississippi, the Salesforce Tower.
And they could spend $10 billion on Matthew McConaughey to stand around and look hot.
Look fantastic. Keep doing what you're doing.
So tech's year of efficiency tells us what they're going to do next, but it also tells us how things were before. Inefficient.
Insane internet growth allowed a decade of decadence.
Now, a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
Jack and I can count a dozen movies about time travel.
That one with the time-traveling hot tub or the one with the crazy hair guy in the car.
Well, all those are all fictional films, aren't they, Jack?
There's one real-life move that might make you okay with not having a time machine.
Yeah, saving for your retirement.
Around 60% of Americans wish they had socked away more for retirement, according to the National Bureau of Economic Research.
That's why Robinhood created the only IRA with a 1% match for eligible contributions every year.
So maybe you don't need a time machine. Limitations apply.
To get started, go to Robinhood.com/TBoy and get your first stock for free. Conditions apply.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOI.
All investments involve risk. Contributions to and withdrawals from IRAs may entail tax consequences. Robinhood does not provide tax advice.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
For our third and final story, are you going to tell us what you want for your birthday, by the way? I've got some ideas. I've got something planned right now.
What do you have planned?
What do you want?
I wasn't planning to ask you for something.
Oh, you're getting Birkenstocks again. Third and final story. What do we got, Jack? Actually, here we go. Third and final story. Shef is the startup that lets neighborhood chefs sell their pot roast from their home kitchen.
It shows that we've just scratched the surface of platforms. Yetis, all of us, we've ordered the same pesto pizza with the same pasta primavera like 10 times since the pandemic started.
You've ordered everything within the DoorDash radius, but you haven't actually ordered everything.
No, you've never ordered for dinner Those delicious noodles that your neighbor cooked for you that one time. Remember?
And that is why Shef just raised $75 million to get you your neighbor's noodles.
Yes, this company has raised $100 million total. They're a private company, and they have celebrity investors as well as Andreessen Horowitz.
Now, the way to think about this is it's a startup that connects home chefs with locals. It's the Etsy, but for eating.
And if you're Googling Shef, you should know that it's spelled S-H-E-F. So it's chef with an S.
Because a majority of the chefs on Shef are women chefs. They are she chefs. That's why it's Shef. Now, Yetis, here's what Jack and I found fascinating about this story. We have said before that successful startups create a new category.
They can also find a gap in the existing categories.
For example, Shef identified a gap between home cooking and takeout and between groceries and restaurants.
If you think about a kitchen can be a residential kitchen.
Right, it can be in your house or like with your family.
Or it can be a commercial kitchen.
You got paying customers for that kitchen.
But Shef connects a residential kitchen with paying customers.
So, Jack, your aunt, she makes that fantastic shrimp gumbo. She's been making it for years, but maybe she wants to monetize that shrimp gumbo.
On Shef, your Aunt Shelly can sell her gumbo to people in town. It'll get delivered.
Now, to turn her kitchen into a business, she's got to take a food certification on Shef, and then she uploads pictures from her kitchen.
To make sure it's clean and there's no rats or anything.
And then Shef is doing all the tech, the logistics. They're doing all the delivery stuff. They're not getting involved in the gumbo.
Boom. Thanks to this new company, Shef, Aunt Shelly is a semi-pro chef who's feeding the town.
And they're using that $75 million fundraise to expand from cities to the suburbs. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Shef?
We've only just scratched the surface of platformification.
Yetis, a platform is a business that enables other businesses to do business.
Yeah, think about it. Airbnb is a business that lets others do hospitality business.
Etsy is a business that lets others buy and sell arts and crafts business.
It's 2023, and Shef has found a way to platform your grandma's cooking recipe.
Yeah, now the internet, it was invented 40 years ago. Uber, the first of the platforms, was 14 years ago.
And yet still, new marketplaces are being created for buyers and sellers to do business.
Because we've only just scratched the surface of platforms.
A business that enables business.
Business. Jack, the almost birthday boy, can you whip up the takeaways for us over there?
PepsiCo has become a CEO factory because 16 Fortune 500 CEOs are Pepsi alums.
If you're too afraid to get heartbroken, you'll never find a hippo.
For our second story, Salesforce stock jumped because the CEO will stop being inefficient.
The era of efficiency reveals the decades of decadence.
And our third and final story is Shef. It's the newest food delivery app, but for semi-pro chefs who cook in their home kitchen.
Because we've only scratched the surface of platforms. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by 8.999 month pregnant Alex Kravici Kramer from the Green Mountains of Vermont and Jack Kramer.
All right, so here's the deal. Our birthdays are just 2 days apart.
You and your wife's birthdays.
Today is Alex's 30th birthday. Happy birthday. My 35th birthday is on Sunday.
But you're expecting a kid any moment now, Jack.
If our second boy is born on Saturday, then that would make 3 straight days of Kravici Kramer birthdays.
So, Yetis, Jack and I were curious, what, statistically speaking, are the mathematical odds of a couple and their child having the same birthday?
Well, if this kid is born on Saturday, we basically have one huge birthday.
And what are the odds, Jack, of 2 parents and 1 child having the same birthday?
The odds are 1 in 133,000.
Is like 365 factorial or something?
It's 365 times 365. And statistically speaking, that means one Yeti probably has this, like the same birthday as their spouse and their kid.
Odds are there's some besties out there with the same birthday as both their parents.
If that's you, hit us up, because this co-host may become one of you.
Because the limit does not exist.
Factorial. The limit does not exist.
Yetis, you look fantastic today. Jack, you're going to have a wonderful birthday this weekend. Either way, no matter what you want, you're getting cakes and you're getting balloons.
That sounds delicious.
And maybe some Crocs.
I don't know what to say. I'm excited. What can I say?
You should be excited. Yetis, we'll see you on Monday. And before we go, congratulations to Yeti's Patricia and Josh Turner, who are getting married today on Friday in New Carrollton, Maryland.
Sit down, stand up, and say yes again.
And a shout out to Josh Gorowski, who's celebrating the 12th anniversary of the day he donated his kidney to his dad.
What a legend.
And Catherine Carr, the Dink Whack, just finished her 4th and final CPA exam.
And congratulations to Inez and Lewis, who just had a baby boy, Kylo Valeria.
And a happy birthday to Brian Palma over in Portland, Maine.
And happy 7th birthday to Lucy Liu in Southlake, Texas.
And Zach Ellis, the Fieldstead Eagle, is turning 35 in New York City.
And a huge shout out to Bodie Shepard, who's turning 1 week old in Walpole, Mass.
Mom Whitney, she's recovering great. And Sir Oski Bow Wow, the Golden Retriever, is turning 8 over in San Diego.
And happy birthday to Valerie Gipp in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
This is Jack. I own stock of Amazon, and Nick and I both own stock of Airbnb and Robinhood. And now a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
Golf at 11 a.m., pickleball by 2.
Gotta see the grandkids, but I don't know if we'll have enough time.
You're probably not thinking about retiring to Del Boca Vista quite yet.
But you could be thinking about how to afford retirement.
So the newest product from Robinhood, the IRA.
The only individual retirement account with a 1% match on every eligible dollar you contribute every year. Limitations apply.
In an IRA, your money has tax-deferred or tax-free growth potential.
So older you can maybe play pickleball at 2 o'clock.
To get started, go to Robinhood.com/TBoy and get your first stock for free. Conditions apply.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY.
All investments involve risk. Contributions to and withdrawals from IRAs may entail tax consequences. Robinhood does not provide tax advice.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
Weasley Bros. We're
Dude,
totally in the dark.
Classic you. Actually, the Weasley Bros weren't in the dark.
That's true.
It's a flaw in our story. It's a bit of a flaw in
Well,
our
it's probably some
story,
kid named like Nathaniel Tumberbot or something, right? Leonard Shovelbutton.
What are those names of like Hogwarts
We're just
students?
making up characters in Harry Potter. It's pretty easy.
I actually don't think it's that easy, dude. I think you have a skill.
Mickle Toadbottom.